Okay, Andreas, are you ready?
Yeah, I'm ready, man.
All right, what's going on, y'all? It's me, Kevin, with FitMenCook. Of course, I gotta do my little intro. And this is Andres. Andres, how you say your last name again? Cambanis?
Cambanis, yeah.
Cambanis, all right. So he is the incredible genius and brain power behind the FitMenCook app. And I wanted him to join us today. We've had so many questions, and there's so much excitement and dialogue and talk about the FitMenCook app. I just thought it'd be better if we just kind of hop on a Google Hangout and let you all know like what's going on with the app. So before we jump into that, a few housekeeping things. So I've only used Google Hangout once, and I'm trying to become an expert. But I believe if you are watching this on the Google Plus page, there is a function called the Q&A functionality, and I've got that open right now. If you have a question during the Hangout, just post your question there. And on this screen over here, if I keep looking this way, it's because I've got two screens up. And on this screen, I have Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Yeah, I'm doing the most right now. So if you have questions, you can actually post them to my Facebook wall. That's facebook.com/FitMenCook. If you want to tweet at me or tweet at Andres, you can tweet at me at FitMenCook, and then Andres, it's at AndreasCam also. And then, of course, I'm looking at the Instagram feed. I posted a note there last night, and I see a couple of your questions there. So I'm going to be referring back and forth to make sure that everyone gets their questions answered. So that said, make sure we're good to go over here. All right. So with that said, we're going to just jump right into the conversation. So the first thing I have to do is I got to thank y'all. I think that we were really excited about the app, and Andreas and his team put lots of good effort into it. I was, I guess a hands-on too from a recipe standpoint and a content standpoint, but it's been something that's been a long time coming, and it's something that I've wanted for a long time. And something also that y'all have asked for, but I think, Andreas, that that when we launched the app, did you think that it was going to do like this well so quickly, or no?
No, it's pretty much unheard of for a recipe app to get to the top 2 in the App Store. So it was it's an overwhelming success, and the fact that Apple have featured it and they're working with us is a really good sign.
Yeah, you know what? I think it's a sign of changing times too. That people are really excited about healthy eating, and they're just tired of the same old, same old. So I'm really happy that they have embraced the FitMenCook, like recipes and our like approach, but also that they really love the app. I think that was the main thing, because I've downloaded apps before. I paid for apps, and let me tell you, when I got the app in my hand for the first time, I was like, wow, like y'all actually killed it. Y'all killed this app. It was great. So kudos to you and your team.
Yeah, it took 4 or 5 months of hard work, and we've worked on recipe apps for the past 2 years. So there's a lot of things that we learn on the way there, but this was definitely the most ambitious thing we've ever done. And it's I can't tell you how much of a pleasure it is to just get all those like positive comments, positive emails, really great feedback. It's just it's an incredible feeling to launch such a cool app.
Absolutely. I think that one of my favorite comments, I was in the grocery store this weekend, and someone stopped me and they said, "Hey, you're FitMenCook, right?" And I said, "Yeah." "You have the first app that I've ever bought on the App Store." And I just thought that was a great compliment to the brand, to you, and to your team. So thank all of you for all of your enthusiasm and your support. It means so much. And guess what? There is so much more to come, and we want to jump into that right now. So I actually want to spend some time going through version 1.1. Many of you all have asked for more recipes, and you want to get an idea on what's going to be coming out too with I think it's iOS 9, right? Is it iOS 9?
Yeah, iOS 9, yep.
So iOS 9. So I want Andres to speak a little bit about that, because I'm not the tech guy at all. So
cool. So hopefully up on the screen right now, I'm not sure if Kevin has to click on it, but up on the screen you should be able to see 1.1, FitMenCook 1.1 here, which is live. Now, we've been working on this for the past couple of weeks, and we think it's probably another week or so of work before we quite get there. So big new feature is new recipes, and you're going to recognize a couple of your favorites, I'm sure, here. The bacon egg stuffed sweet potato is something that I've been meaning to try. So yeah, thanks to our ability to get the app size down a little bit, because we've got this restriction where 100 megabytes is the maximum size that somebody can download on their cell phone connection. So we managed to do some clever things with the images to get the size down without reducing the quality. And that means we've been able to get a few more recipes in there. So we've added 19 new recipes. There's some really, really cool new recipes in there that I know you guys are going to love. This one's my favorite. So we got the new recipes. It's the #1 request we've had of people, so we're pleased to be able to deliver on that. The other thing is we're going to change up the collections a little bit. I think we're going to drop the excellent ones, put a different collection in there, so just to keep things fresh. The news feed, we spent a bunch of time working on this and improving it, so it should be much better in this version. We're also adding some cool new videos that will show you a little bit more clearly how to track your calories and macros. So there's a bunch of cool stuff basically that we've been working on. One of the features actually that it would be great to get your live feedback on, whether that's through Twitter or whether you're able to sort of post some comments up on the question box or wherever that might be, or whether you just want to leave us a message afterwards or send us an email. Any which way you want to give us some feedback would be great. But one of the features we've worked on is, so if I'm looking to cook one of my favorite recipes here, the budget spicy turkey chili, and you'll see that there's some changes here to the ingredients screen. Now, one of the things we did is we moved the units button further up because a lot of people were losing it when it was initially down here next to the add to shopping button. So that's a small fix. We've also made some improvements in the data here, but the key thing is when you hit add to shopping, what this will now do is this will bring up this separate screen here. So that's quite cool because it means that you can go through this list and be like, oh, actually, I've already got tomatoes. I've already got coconut oil spray. I've already got some basil in my house. So I don't need to go out and buy any of those or any of these seasonings. So you can actually reduce down the things that you add to your shopping cart. And then I hit the add button here. And of course, that goes into my shopping. Now, we're sort of in two minds about this feature because, some people perhaps might find the extra step annoying. Other people are going to find it really useful, removing the things that they already have. So we're really interested in your thoughts in comparing this new version compared to how it worked previously, where you just hit add to shopping and everything just goes into the shopping cart. So it's small things like this that we spend a lot of time thinking about. So I'd be really interested in your feedback. So that's 1.1, and I'll hop back to Kevin.
Okay, cool. Can you speak for a little bit about the importance of the app size? I know that we went back and forth about that, and I just didn't get it. Why we couldn't add a lot more recipes. Can you talk about that for a second? Yeah, sure.
So let me just close this off here. Yeah, so the problem is it's 100 megabytes is this limit that Apple have put in place, and it means that you can't go over that. Otherwise, somebody has to go onto their Wi-Fi connection in order to download the app. Now, that's definitely not something we want to do. We also don't want to overburden people with a really big download, especially each time we're doing an update and things like that. So we've really started to think about that issue a lot, and it's basically the current big roadblock for us adding new recipes is this very real problem that we need to overcome. And we've spoken to a bunch of people that know a lot about these things, so we think we're kind of getting there, and it's going to form a big part of version 2 because we know the main thing you guys are asking for is new recipes on a regular basis. We just have to overcome the sort of technological challenges that are going to go into that.
Okay, perfect. So just to give you some quick feedback, Andreas, I'm not sure if your Q&A column is open on your screen, but we've got some feedback here. Damone Franklin says that he actually likes a quick screen before adding it in. He thinks that's a good add. And there's a question here from Graham. I want you to kind of answer that to see if there's a quick fix besides going through the settings. He wants to be able to keep the app awake while it's in the, oh goodness, where did the question go? Oh, fudge. I just clicked on done. Sorry, Graham. I mean, yeah. All
All
right.
right, I can still see it in my screen. Yeah.
Can you see it in your screen? 'Cause I just clicked it off. Okay. So I think the question is, how do you keep the app awake whenever you're trying to make a recipe? Because sometimes it'll go to sleep. So is there a way besides going into your general settings and changing it that way inside the app?
Yeah, so that's something we've definitely thought about. Problem is I guess it's always a bit of a trade-off with these things. So the only thing that Apple will let us do is we can either choose to say always be on or listen to the user settings and do however it's set up for the user. Now the problem is let's say somebody forgets that they were looking at their shopping list and they leave their iPhone, and then we end up draining the entire battery because we've got the screen live the whole time. So it's a real trade-off, but it's a really good question. I'm going to make a note to have a chat with the developers and see if Apple have sort of moved on in some of the tools that they provide us with. Really good suggestion. So thank you very much.
Okay. Well, we've got another question here from Instagram. So this is leading into the version 2.0 conversation, which we're about to have. And it's a question about MyFitnessPal. So first thing I'll say, if you are not subscribed to the newsletter, then do so. I answer like a lot of these questions via the newsletter on a weekly basis, or at least we try to. But MyFitnessPal, I think that was one of the things that I actually wanted in this version of the app. So it turns out that MyFitnessPal doesn't integrate with any app, like no one. The only app that I believe that they integrate with is the Apple Health app. So first I'll address what's the workaround for it. So the workaround with the FitMenCook app is to add it to the Apple Health app, and then the Apple Health app can speak to the MyFitnessPal app. Do it that way. Currently though, MyFitnessPal is not allowing any app to integrate into its iOS, right? Or is it called iOS, or to its API?
Yeah, so to be clear, MyFitnessPal will let you integrate if you're, for example, if you're a running app, you can upload some information on there. So they've got a very limited number of apps, but they are not letting any recipe app integrate into their tool, unfortunately.
So that's a really good point to make. So they do integrate. If you're watching this and you work for MyFitnessPal, please, I'm not throwing shade, but you will allow the running apps to do that, or the fitness apps, but there's no recipe app that we know of right now that is being allowed to integrate into MyFitnessPal. So that's the reason why it has not been added to the FitMenCook app. We'd love to have that. So in the newsletter, we sent a link out. We can do that maybe after this Hangout too. That just, it's a quick link and it sends you to the MyFitnessPal page where you can request that, the FitMenCook app be integrated into the MyFitnessPal. So, is that good, Andreas? All right. And that question was from EBMC. So, let me see here. I think, and then one more thing. So I know that we talked about, and this may be a version 2.0 feature, but this is a really good question and something too that I keep hearing a lot. Not only in the app, but also in social media, and it's this idea of substitutions and how we could do a much better job with that. So, hey, it's Franklin on Instagram wants to know if there's a way that we can better display or better address this idea of having more like substitutes for some of the recipes and some of the ingredients. For example, he gave coconut oil. It's expensive and sometimes it's hard to find. Is there a way inside the app that we can begin to automate that functionality to begin to swap them out? So I'll talk first from a macro standpoint that that's a really cool ad, and it's like high level thinking type of ad, and I actually like that functionality. The only thing is that once we start to swap in certain things, it's going to change out the macronutrients and the caloric content and value of that meal. So it's not just as simple, just like let's just swap this in instead, and because the macros could actually change. So that would be the one thing that I would be concerned about and trying to automate that, because then it would require us then to go back through 100+ recipes and make sure that we redo the macronutrient calculation. So it sounds very easy, but it's actually pretty time consuming. But I do like the idea of maybe adding like a caveat or something inside the recipe app saying that the macronutrients may change if you use this ingredient. And perhaps, I'm not sure, Andreas, I'll be quiet now because I would hate to add to your workload. and then perhaps that ingredient, the substitute, can be added to the shopping list.
Yeah, definitely. So these are all things we can look at. So, I'm so pleased that we've got this sort of forum where we get a chance to take some of these ideas in. So one of the things we can take a look at is ingredient substitutions. I think from sort of a high level standpoint, I think a feature that we'd really like to see added into version 2 potentially, and all of these things are always up for discussion. So is the ability to sort of filter out recipes for any allergies that people might have, or for any foods that people really don't like eating. So you'd be able to sort of filter out, I don't know, if you had a nut allergy or an eggs allergy or things like that. So a better sort of filtering tool would be a nice touch. So we're thinking about that. But yeah, being able to substitute in ingredients is a killer idea, and I'm sure there's people out there that would love that functionality. So thank you very much for suggesting it. We'll take a look.
Great. Okay, so with that said, let's just move into the next conversation, which is be version 2.0, and this is the one I'm really excited about because we've got tons of ideas. But before we just jump in and start just building away, we also want to get your feedback to make sure that this is it's a collaborative process, because I think that part of the success of this app was that we kept the process fairly open, and we used your feedback, we used your different ideas, and then we had the beta testers and whatnot. So we want to continue to replicate that so we can accelerate the success here. So one of the first things that I know is coming in version 2.0 is the ability to have an automatic push update to the app with all the new content that I'm posting on a weekly basis. So we don't have to wait for a periodic app update in order to get the new recipes. They'll be able to be pushed right there to your phone. So that's a huge fix for you all. Keep in mind, and this is in full transparency, that it's not just as simple, let's just push the content there. The content first has to be formatted so that way it's competent inside the app, because remember, the app is not just a recipe app, it's trying to help you out with meal planning and shopping. And so there are a couple things that have to happen first before it actually speaks to the app very well. And then we also work with our with a professional translator in order to make sure that it's available in 2 languages. So it's not just as simple, Kevin posted up on WordPress or Instagram and it's to your app. So so there may be a few days lag, but just keep in mind that the cost for the to have the content pushed there, the cost and time can be somewhat significant depending on how much content is shared. I'll let Andreas address that as well if you'd like to.
Yeah, definitely. So, I mean, from a technology standpoint, it's not the easiest thing to achieve. So it's going to be take some hard work, and there's going to be some hard work going forward. From Kevin preparing the recipes, of course, and then from our database guys putting it into the correct format, and then the Spanish translator coming in and translating into Spanish, and then testing it out in a sort of private beta app that we'll have on our end to make sure that it's correct, and then we can sort of push it live so that we make sure that we're not causing problems on your iPhone and having to issue updates and things like that. So it's a challenge, but it's the number 1 thing you guys have requested. So it's so important for us to sort of address the one thing that we keep getting feedback on. And one thing we were thinking about is that with our Friday newsletter that we hope sort of everyone's going to subscribe to, we'll send in there, we'll sort of time it as the newsletter goes out, the new recipes will go live as well. So you'll be able to pick up your iPhone and see the new recipes of the week every Friday. So that means that, yeah, we're going to have to put a lot of things together to make that dream come true. But that's exactly what we're aiming for. And that's basically, summed up the next few months of my life where I'm going to have to put a lot of work into this. But it's exciting, and yeah, I can't wait till it's done. I know you guys are absolutely, you really want this. So rest assured, it's exactly what we're
Cool.
Exactly.
One thing that I would really like to see in version 2 as well is the addition of third-party content. And what I mean by that is that, I started out my blog in 2012. It's been, 3 years now. It's still going strong, still hanging on. But what I've noticed is that there is tons of awesome content out there. And I want this app to really speak to the idea and the essence of FitMenCook, and that this is a collaborative community of just ideas, of people really just wanting to live like a healthier lifestyle. And so I don't want this to be Kevin Curry's app, right? I want this to be FitMenCook, FitWomenCook's app. And so we're exploring ways right now that we can begin to partner with bloggers like yourselves or other curators to begin to bring that content together into version 2. So that way the content is much more robust and also plentiful, because the last thing that you want is to open up your recipe app and not have many choices. I think that choices are going to really help you to get to the next level, and to also just continue to be creative in your diet. So that is one big addition for me that, like, I just can't wait to really explore how we're going to go ahead and do that functionality. I can't tell you yet because actually I don't really know, but I would love your feedback. So as Andreas said, if you want to post a note on Twitter, if you want to post it here or send us a note afterwards, I would love to begin to explore how we bring in a lot more third-party content. So look for a post from me very soon in the future about this topic. Andreas, you have something to add on that or no?
Yeah, what I would say is that's the big thing that we want to get across in this sort of live show, is that we want to be able to like send you guys questions via email. We want to be able to send out a survey, things like that. We really want to get as much feedback as possible, because the app's first version has been a killer success. We're looking forward to 1.1, which should be out in the next couple of weeks. After that, we really want to get your opinions. So yeah, key thing is join the newsletter, make sure you're keeping an eye on things, and you'll be able to help us influence how it all comes together, basically. This is your guys' app, basically.
Absolutely. I think that we can definitely do another round of like beta testers and do that again, because their feedback was just really great, and it motivated me too. It actually kept me up at night thinking like some other things that we could be doing better. So absolutely. One other thing too in version 2, there are several ideas, and I don't want to say them right now because I know Andreas will kill me after the call and be like, "Why'd you tell people we're gonna do that? Now I have to go and do it." So I can't do that. But I will say this: I'm gonna say two things actually, and the last one, Andreas, sorry, you got to just kill me afterwards. So the first one is I want to be able to find a way that we can build in like collections. So if you look at really cool apps like Visco, which is this awesome photo app, right? It's like, I think it's like the #1 photo app for like the iPhone. If you go in there, it'll have like collections of different filters for photos. I'd love to have a collection of different recipes that people can add to the app at their leisure. So if you are a working mom and you've got a growing family, maybe we have a collection of recipes for working moms. If you are a competitor and you're training for like your first show or whatnot, maybe have a collection for athletes or whatnot. So I really like this idea of bringing in third-party content that way as well, but doing it in a much more like packaged solution. So that way, first off, people, like, you'll always get the content that I share and the content that we bring in from third-party providers that is just like universal. But also you can really begin to customize the app so that it meets your needs. So for instance, for like my Visco on here, it's customized for me. So I get all like the different food filters on it. So you can have an app that's truly customized for you. And then the second thing, which I know that I may get punched in the mouth virtually by like Andres afterwards, is that one area that I know that people have struggled with, and one area that I've struggled with too, is actually water and hydration. And it's because it's, first off, I just kind of forget to drink water. But I found out that like drinking water for me actually kind of helps to keep me like on a regular. I'm not snacking as much like in between meals and whatnot. So I know that there are other like water counters out there and whatnot, but I just thought that it would be kind of cool if we had our own water counter and water, like reminder inside the app. So you could set your own timing to be like, hey, I want to have 6 reminders throughout the day at this time, this time, this time, and to say, hey, Kevin, don't forget to, sorry, y'all, this cell phone thing is going off. Don't forget to drink your 8 ounces like water today for for this hour, and et cetera, et cetera. I just think that would be kind of cool. I think it would be helpful. If you like the idea, I want you to tell me on the Google Hangout or on Twitter, but I like it. Oh, and then also, in addition to that, be giving people ideas on how they can make their fluid intake a lot more enjoyable. So not just drinking water, but ways to freshen it up. So we'll talk about like infused water. We'll talk about some teas and maybe even some coffee, things like that. But yeah, those ideas. Andreas, you have something to add, or you just want me to shut up now?
There's good ideas, Kevin. There's like, yeah.
That's code for shut up.
We had a question from Gavin there, just saying about posting up the video afterwards. I think that's definitely something.
I'll select that right now. So Gavin wants to know if we can post up the link to the video afterwards so we can watch it later. Absolutely. So this video actually will be automatically uploaded to my YouTube channel. So if you go to youtube.com/FitMenCook, you'll be able to get the video and watch it. And then we'll also check the comments below that video too, so we can address those. So I'm going to click done on that question. All right, so we are going to move on. Now, this is one of the top questions that we've had. And if you look at any of the feeds on the Instagram and Twitter and whatnot, and the angry messages that I get from people, the emails, it's where in the world is the Android app? So I'm going to punt and give that to Andreas. I'm kidding. Unless you want to take it. Do you want to take it, or I can take it?
Yeah, go ahead, Kevin.
Okay, so first off, you're absolutely right. Where is the Android app? It's something that like I want personally, and I've said before, I told people, hey, we're going to do this Android app, and I just jumped the gun. And I told people, absolutely, it's going to be out there. We're working on it right now. And when we started to work on it and to and move forward with it, I realized very quickly, I was humbled, because the Android platform is not as seamless and easy as the iOS platform. And I thought, and this is what I'm learning, so if you're an Android developer out there and you're like, nah, man, it's whack, you're wrong. Well, tell me and maybe we can work it out. Is that the Android platform is a little bit more difficult, because I think that the Android is customized from device to device, perhaps. So I know that you have your ones from like Samsung, and you got the kind from like Motorola, but it's not always like the same type of operating system. So there are certain tweaks that have to be made to the app in order to make it fully functional across all those. So that inflates the app development costs. Keep in mind too that this was a premium app in the Apple Store. And then if you look at the premium apps in the Android store, it's not a direct comparison. I think that from the studies that we've been able to do, that we would average about maybe like 20% of the downloads on the Android store that we got from the Apple Store. So so as you can imagine, building an app is not just walking into an office and going and doing it. It costs significant money, and so I've got to so that investment sometimes it gets a little bit more tricky with Android. So that's not to say that we're not doing it and we're still exploring it. So what we have done is we're going to open it up a lot more now to Android developers out there who may be interested in working with us to develop the FitMenCook app. It's something that I think that you all want, and personally, that I want too, because I want that void to be to be fixed there. And I think that Android too is like if it's not the number one or it's number two, but there's a huge market out there of people who are really interested in like healthy eating that are missing out on the awesomeness of the FitMenCook app, and so I don't want that. So we are working on that. Now that's a priority, and it's a tough one to fix. Here's one that I can fix though over here that's also a priority, and that's making sure that the exclusive content that is offered in the iOS app can be offered to people that don't have the iOS device. So that's something that we're going to try to solve pretty quickly. The only thing is that you can get the content, but you won't be able to get the full functionality, of course, that's offered in the FitMenCook app for iPhone, iPad, and Apple Watch. But I do want you all to have access to that content, because that's really important to me particularly when I'm sharing the recipes in social media and having like a conversation. It's super frustrating and downright rude to be talking to everyone and they can't get access to this because it's only offered here. So that's something that we're going to be able to resolve pretty quickly. Andreas?
Yeah. I mean, Android is sort of something that we're really trying to figure out. We've like Kevin said, we've chatted to a bunch of people that have already built recipe apps on there to get some feedback about how they found the process of developing it, what sort of response they got, and things like that. And you know, we did send out a survey at FitMenCookAndroid.kickofflabs.com. Maybe we can include that link at the bottom of the video, where we've asked people to enter what phone they're using, whether they've got an Android phone and a tablet. Yeah, the response on there was a little slow. We didn't get a lot of responses. So if you guys haven't had a chance yet and you're on Android, you want the app on there, then yeah, make sure you go check that out, and we'll definitely include the link to it. But it's something that we're trying to figure out as well. And yeah, like Kevin says, we'd love to have it on there. It's just a case of how can we make this work? And you got to remember, I think sometimes people take a look and see like the amazing app and the amazing recipes that Kevin does and sort of get the experience and thought that like there's a great big team of us that are making this sort of magic happen behind the scenes. You know, it's very much just Kevin and his dog, you know. So we're very much like a very sort of, you know, homegrown. We're a very small team, and we've been able to accomplish great things, but that does mean that we are a little bit limited in what we can do. You know, we don't have millions of funding and all of this stuff. Like we're just trying to make it work with what we've got. So yeah, it's something that we want to get across.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's a great point. So as you can see, you know, we're frustrated too, and we are working on it. It's keeping us up at night as well. So just know that in the interim, what I can promise is that you won't miss out on the exclusive content that we're sharing on the Apple devices, because that's really important that everyone can share in that. So thank you for for those words, Andreas. There's a couple questions, several actually surprising questions. People are asking about Windows phones. Who has a Windows phone? Just kidding. Just kidding. I swear. I'm just kidding around. Windows is a great phone too. Are there plans to have a Windows version? That's from Inneril12, and then another person too asked that same question. So
that's a really good question. Yeah. What I will say, you know, Microsoft has got some exciting tools coming that are helping out developers. So there is potential down the road. I think, like I think what we've made clear is that this is very much a sort of let's figure out one thing at a time. You know, we figured out the iPhone app. Android's the one that we've next got the most calls about, so that's the next one to figure out. And then, I mean, there's going to be some BlackBerry users out there. There's going to be some Windows phone users out there. So, you know, maybe there's a solution where we can develop it as a web app, something like that, some sort of way of getting everybody, basically. We don't want to exclude anyone. It's just a case of what can we do with what we have. So, yeah, thanks for the Android guys. Thanks for the Windows guys. It's something that we're working on.
Absolutely. And BlackBerry, is that on the roadmap? Yeah,
as a potentially as a web app, if we can solve it for BlackBerry phones and for Windows phones in one go, then that's
So is it safe to say that we're like really collaborative, and that you know, if you're part of like the Windows developer community and the Android community out there, and you have ideas about this and you maybe would like to get involved, then send us an email to info@FitMenCook, and we can get back to you on that, and we'll follow up on like legitimate leads there, because I think that the most important thing is making sure that we get the content out to the masses. You know, that's where my heart is, that's where Andreas' heart is, and so we're going to be focused on doing that. Couple quick last minute questions. We've got about 5 minutes before we close, and I want to make sure if you have questions out there right now, tweet or post them on the Facebook or to Twitter or on this Google Hangout. Paleo options recipes. So one thing that we'll look at in the version 2, and not for the version 1, is a recategorization of some of the recipes, or just a refresh of some of those, so we can categorize them a little bit better to make it easier for people to find types of food. So paleo, even high protein, low carb type of recipes. things like that. So yes, that's coming. Thank you. It's my JJ for that question. And then let's see. That one's yeah. Okay. Okay. All right. So I'm going to address some of the questions that are here on the Google Hangout now. Andreas, if you can look at the ones on Twitter just to make sure that we, we're covered here. So let's see. More recipes I've been doing. So I think that we've already. So I'm going to address Damon's question just in case you just joined and you have a similar question. It's they want more recipes and much more collections. So we are going to be doing both of those, both in version 1.1 and then version 2 with the collections that we talked about. And that, what about incorporating a calorie counter, a meal counter, and a workout counter? That's a really interesting. So perhaps what the feedback there to Andreas to us is that one thing that I don't like to do is reinvent the wheel. I think that, if there's a good app out there that's already doing that, maybe we can go and talk to that app so both our apps can kind of talk together. But I do like the idea of having a more prominent calorie counter and a meal counter, actually. I think that would be similar to the water counter thing that we were talking about. And then the workout counter, that's something else. That surprisingly, a lot of people have asked about much more integration with the fitness type of content. So let's explore that. Look out for an email from us about getting involved with that, because I'm actually curious to see what people actually mean by that. If they mean that's like talking to apps that actually help out to count your calories, or if they want that functionality built into the actual app. Andreas, are you good with that? Are you good?
Yep. Okay. I'm making notes here.
Okay. All right, so this is not an app question, but I get this question all the time, and I'm going to answer it now. So Craig G, he asked me, what is my question is about camera equipment. What's my lens? Crap. So I thought it was going to be an easy question. So I can tell you my camera. I can't tell you my lens because I honestly don't know it. But I will tell you who to follow in social media to get some of that question answered. So the camera that I use for my videos is the Canon 70D. It's a DSLR, and the lens that I bought is a Sigma lens. Now, the person on YouTube that helped me out with this, if you think it's TL, crap, he's going to kill me if it's, I think it's, I'm trying to put it in right now. Okay, look this guy up on YouTube. Put in Jonathan and then TLD. This guy knows his stuff about camera stuff, and he knows about filming, and he's the one who helped me out with sound and camera. Okay? And that's, again, his name is Jonathan, and his YouTube account is TLD, Tech Lunch Dinner. I'm done. All right, and I'm going to make sure there are no more questions about the app, because I think everyone's got some questions about, like, diet stuff. Go figure, y'all. Thank y'all for caring about the app, asking questions about the diet. All right, so let's see. I'm just getting this one more time. Make sure. Okay, so I'm going to go through these pretty quickly. Okay, I'm not sure what that question is. Any tips on what to snack on to keep energy high in the afternoon whenever I feel like crashing? Yeah. I'm going to select that question. So this question is by Gavin. Any tips on what to snack on to keep energy high in the afternoon? I'm actually about to have my energy snack right now for the afternoon. It's going to be avocado and some Ezekiel bread, and then a little bit of chicken. But also things I like in the afternoon to kind of give that energy boost would be some nuts and seeds and some dried fruit. The dried fruit is pretty high in sugar, but it provides kind of like a natural kind of boost there. I would say also maybe add in some caffeine and do like a good matcha green tea is pretty good for the afternoon. You don't want to have anything I try to stay away personally from anything that's too heavy in carbs in the afternoon, because that just really just makes me sleepier. So I go high protein, high fat to actually do that. So to actually beat that hump. So, all right. Thoughts on Ezekiel bread? This is by Harris Monson. So thoughts on Ezekiel bread? I love it. I use it all the time. If you follow me, then you'll see. I look at Genesis bread. Let's see. Okay, what do you think is the best carb? Oh, Jonathan wants to know, what do you think is the best carb protein source combination for post-workout? Right now, I'm making eggs and oatmeal pancake with a touch of cinnamon. That sounds banging. What do you think? I think that's pretty good. One thing I know that I've had success with is doing a slightly lower glycemic carb after post-workout to help to quickly replenish the glycogen store. So something like a lean protein, like a chicken breast or a fish, some grilled veggies, and then for the carb source, I would look at things. You know, you don't have to go white rice, but if you know this is slightly, has a higher glycemic index than white rice, but basmati rice would be a great option for you. Try that out. Also, you can never go wrong with some good old-fashioned sweet potatoes after a nice workout. You toss in some simple carbs like some honey, and it's going to be banging. Those are my go-to carb sources. So basmati rice and sweet potato, and then sometimes red potato as well. But what you have so far with the eggs and oatmeal pancake is definitely fine. But again, to answer your question, a good combo would be a lower glycemic carb, I think, and a very lean protein source. And don't forget your veggies. And then Harris posted again and wanted me to answer his question about the Ezekiel bread. Yeah, it's good stuff. It's a little bit more expensive. You want to keep it frozen inside your house the way that you buy it. And again, I like the Genesis bread because it's a little bit more tasty, in my opinion. It's got low sugar as well. So, and then I think that is it. So, all right, y'all. So thanks very much for tuning in. Andreas, any parting words?
Yeah, I think we were going to talk a little bit about how to launch a successful app, but perhaps we can leave that for a follow-on call. Something that people are interested in. But the key thing is just join the newsletter so that we can keep in touch and we can let you know how version 1's coming along, version 2's coming along. You should have version 1.1 in your hands in the next couple of weeks. So I hope you guys are excited about that.
Yes, I am. But hey, I know that you've been getting peppered like with that question about app development. So can you just spend 2 minutes and we'll just go 5 minutes over. Just spend 2 minutes and give them like your quick pitch about what to think about when trying to build an app. It's really important.
Yeah, definitely. So, a few people have got in touch and said, hey, I want to do a great recipe app as well, or, I'm thinking about building an app for my business, things like that. So the place to start is basically to put together a really detailed brief where you really write down exactly what you need the app to do, what the different screens will look like. And you can just draw this with like pen and paper, or you can do it in PowerPoint, or if you're comfortable with Photoshop, do it in there. So really try and get this idea out of your head onto paper so that you know how it's going to work and look and all of that. And from there, you can then start approaching some developers and getting some quotes. Now, it's hard to say how much an app is going to cost to build. Some of the most simple ones can be a couple of $1,000, maybe $2,000. And it ranges all the way up to $100,000 or more, depending on how complex you need the app to be. What we found is it's a lot cheaper to develop apps which basically exist purely on the phone. They don't do cool stuff like get new recipes automatically, so that's always going to increase the costs. That's in 2 minutes or less. Start with an amazing brief. Start approaching some developers and getting some quotes for your ideas. Always make sure you get a range of quotes. Never pay for a developer 100% upfront, just in case they turn out to be a dud. So start off with a 20% payment and then pay them as they reach certain milestones. And that decreases the chances of something going wrong. So yeah, that's a bit of a whirlwind, 1 to 2 minute tour, but hopefully it's helpful, and hopefully we can follow up at some point with you guys on that stuff as well.
Absolutely. So if y'all actually want to have like a dedicated talk with just Andreas on like app development, then write us, tweet us, send us an email, and we'll make that happen, because I think it's a really important topic. And hey, I think it's just a great idea too, that the more apps out there, people doing like awesome things and sharing great content, the better we all are. So, all right. So again, y'all, thank y'all so much for tuning in. You can catch the replay of this here on youtube.com/FitMenCook. Post your comment below, and we'll be monitoring those as well for version 1.1 and version 2.0. All right, y'all. Thanks so much. Andreas, thank you so much, man.
Thanks, guys. Thank you very much.
Okay.